Theory test 2016-2017 involves theory test, hazard perception. This includes test videos and questions that come up in the actual test. I would get the actual CD to study, so you can study, practice, and do a mock test. You can also read the highway code. It opens up a new little browser. This you should definitely read. So you see here, you can look at a lot of things. You should definitely learn your signs. They're normally quite straightforward. So let's look at study. There are 14 topics. You should go in order. And you can also press sound at the top and they'll just read it to you. Make sure you read everything. Then you go to practice. You can also have quick tests. So on practice, it gives you a bunch of questions for you to go through. I'll show you now. Questions are pretty easy. To be honest, I think it's just common sense, but you can study it. Well, I think you should study it so you don't waste your money when you pay for the exams. It's multiple choice. You have 1 in 4 chance of getting it correct. And most of it is pretty simple. You can press explain answer and it'll tell you why this is the answer. In your test, you can also get the questions in a case study. So you can also press case studies. You would have to read something about a case study. Can't really bother to read it. You answer the questions. Obviously, this is a practice at the moment. So you can just answer the 5 questions and then check the answers afterwards. It'll tell you what's wrong and what's right. If it's wrong, you should press on it and then see your mistake. You can pause the video and have a look yourself and answer it yourself. So you can see here the red is wrong, so you would go back to it and check the answer. And you learn from your mistakes. So here's a quick mock test. This is how your real test would look like. So you get 50 questions and you have to make sure you get 43 correct. I passed my test on my first time, but the pass rate for theory test is actually lower. So you could be expecting taking it twice. I've known people who spent like 4 tries or whatever. So it's just worth studying. I mean, this CD cost me £20 on the offer. So in the test, you click on answer, you press next. If you don't know, you don't have to answer it right away, you can flag it. So you press flag, and then when you get to the end, you can press review, and it'll come up with the ones you flagged, so you can have a look at it later on. At the end, it'll tell you the correct answers and the incorrect answers, so you can learn from your mistakes. You can by pressing analyze at the end. You can go on extras and it tells you about the test itself. Now we've got the hazard perception task. This is pretty boring. So you have a short study, 4 sections, and then you've got quite a lot of practices. And you have to watch the whole video, so it's long. So there's 2 types of practices on here. One is watching a video and then you click when you see a developing hazard. A developing hazard is one that would make you change your driving, for example, slow down or have to stop. A hazard would be one that could be a hazard but it hasn't developed into one. All you do is press and then a little red flag comes up. The earlier you press it, which means you've noticed it earlier, the more scores you get. So here I got 5 out of 5, which is full marks. So each developing hazard you can get 5. So you can see here, I got a 5. If I pressed it a bit later, I would have got less. Now you can see my flag, I pressed it quite early. So I would recommend double clicking. That's what I noticed from my practices. I noticed it quite early, I press it, and it just goes off the time frame, and then sometimes I get 0. So I normally double click. But I guess that depends how fast your reaction is. The other type of practice is a multiple multiple choice question, so you have to make sure you watch the whole video and answer the question correctly. I hate having to wait for the video to go. So yeah, you can see over there there's like a flood, which they called Ford on a sign, which is stupid. And you can see a car in the background that's driving away. So obviously you would press choose a different route. And it was correct. But in the test you don't have multiple choice questions, you just have the clicking flag thing. So here's the mock test. And you can press extras to find out a little bit more about it. So let's get on with the mock test. In the test there's actually more clips, but these ones are just a couple. So they used CGI, which makes it easier to notice things. And it also plays, I think, at half speed because I think it's pretty slow. And these videos don't have sound either. Oops. There, the reflection. Do you see it? The reflection of this fan thing coming. With this mock test, it doesn't tell you the time frame like the practices. So, like I said, you should always double click, but I'm just trying to point out to you where the hazards would be, developing hazards would be. So, we're on a motorway. Going really slow. Wish this video would be a bit faster. Did you see that? This lorry is coming towards us and it's going to block our way or make us slow down. Move out my way. I could never drive a lorry. So hard. So you can't just keep clicking lots or in a rhythm pattern kind of thing because it will just disqualify you and you'll get 0 for that clip. But you can press at every hazard if you wanted to. Well, most hazards, I guess. So you can press quite a lot, to be honest, and not be disqualified. Because you want to make sure you're in that time frame. So you might as well just do it. See here, there's a learner. So if you could press a couple of times, and then you could you would know that you must be hitting some time frame points. Some part of the time frame. Look, there's a learner driver. That's probably you at the moment, stalling in the road. If I didn't see you, or if I didn't stop, I would have drove right into you. So some developing hazards can come really quick, so you have to make sure you are always aware. I mean, you don't want to run someone over. With this test, you're just clicking on the mouse. But obviously when you're in a driving test, you'll be checking your mirrors and looking around. This cyclist could have got run over if I didn't see him. He was going downhill pretty fast. Okay, so this clip comes out in the real exam. Well, it came out in my exam. I don't know whether everyone's exam is the same or whether it's just random. But this one came out in my one. So you get a bunch of clips. All of them has one developing hazard, but one of the clips have two. This is the clip that has two. And you'll see. Ignore that first flag. So we are looking at this cyclist over here. He goes to the right twice. So can you see him put his arm out? So this is going to make us slow down. And he wants to go right again. So we can see like a puddle of water over here, and people are driving around it. Yep, so we had to slow down and wait on the side. This is another clip that came up on the exam. It's the same CGI but slightly different. In my test, this car runs into this motorbike, and that would have been where you pressed it. This is the mock one at the moment, and this mock one is actually a little vehicle or van over here, this white one, that drives out and slows us down. So remember, in the actual exam, you have to be quite ready because the hazard actually comes out quite early. I don't know why they make it so long. Like, the hazard's already gone past, and they're still watching us drive this really long road. The theory itself takes like 10 minutes, like if you know your stuff. And if you want to make sure you check, like recheck your answers or make sure you're reading it properly, maximum like 15 minutes. And all these clips just take so long. Can you see this tractor coming out? And it's slow and big. Okay, this is another clip that comes out in the exam. It's slightly different, but it's at the same time. So in this mock test, two people come out, which I'll highlight when it comes up. But in the actual exam, the people are changed to a car. So a car comes past, and it's behind this tall vehicle, so you have to make sure you notice it. And finally, this one also comes up in the exam. I don't know if it's exactly the same, because in my exam, the very final car doesn't come up, so I think it might be slightly different, but it's the same sort of thing. There's a car coming through, and you should press it now. There we go. You pressed it for that car over there. Because you have to slow down for it. And we're finished. Almost. Finished. And you can get your results. So for a car, you need to make sure you get 59% to pass. And here's one of the questions that come up. Who can use a toucan crossing? Pedal cyclists. That's going to be in for this year and next year. Thanks for watching.